You're listening to Unshaken, the Hope Dealer podcast, where we rise, heal, and make no excuses. I'm your host, Jason Brooks. Let's turn trauma into truth and pain into power. Let's go. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jason back with another episode of Unshaken, the Hope Dealer podcast. I am extremely excited about this episode. First of all, I hope you all have had a wonderful first half of the year. It's kind of crazy that it's already the end of June, right? First half of the year has flown by. And I don't know where you live, but I know where I live, it is hot as crap, right? Like, I swear it's like the devil's armpit. It's like so humid, like you can't even walk out and breathe. It is just literally so friggin' hot, but I hope you're doing well. It's been pretty eventful last week or so. One of the things that I really believe in is really giving back to the community. And one of the things that I really love is, one of the foundations that I really support is a group called Friend to Friend, which is a foundation or nonprofit that gives back and helps out victims of domestic violence, human trafficking. What they do is anybody that's in need, or somebody that needs help in getting out of a volatile situation, or needs help with going to court, things like that, needs a safe transport to the hospital, things like that. Or if their house is just not safe, right? And they just can't bear to be there anymore. I mean, let's say they have children or pets. Friend to Friend actually has a place where they can actually put you up, for a short time where you can get back on your feet. So it's a really, really wonderful foundation, through my job. I've talked about this before. I do mortgages, but through every one of my closings, I do give back to Friend to Friend. Through some form or another, I like to give back to them. And that's one thing I love about my company is my company is 51% nonprofit. So they ask us to align with, local nonprofits that, we really believe in. And that's one of the things when I was growing up that, I did happen to see, like I was really, really close with my sister growing up. And, I happened to witness, not really firsthand. I never actually see things that happened to her or anything like that, but I did happen to see the results, right? I would see her come home with bruises, and I know one time in particular she had broken ribs, things like that. So it always stuck with me. It always resonated with me that, I didn't, hated that anybody would ever have to go through that, and did. I've had, female friends and exes that were in situations that suck, right? Never understood why a guy, or I guess a female too, would put hands on people that are physically weaker than them. To me, it's just ridiculous, right? I mean, anybody that puts their hands on a female is not a man. Let's start there. But anyways, I'm really getting off subject. But anyways, one of the things that I like to do with Friend to Friend is I'm actually a board member now. And one of the things that I do is try to help give back by, help fundraise. So we had an event this past weekend, and we did a community kickball tournament, and it was absolutely wonderful. We had a great turnout and, raised several $1,000s. I don't know the exact amount, but, it was a really great turnout. But I mean, people were literally falling out though. It was so freaking hot, but it was a great turnout. And, we love doing things like this, and we'll do some more things like this throughout the year. So if you pay attention to my socials, I hope you do follow along on my IGs, TikToks, but I'm always posting things about, fundraisers or ways to give back. So if you don't follow me, please do. But regardless, this episode I thought was really important because I'm always hearing people talk about being transparent with their sobriety, their recovery, their mental health. Should I not? How much should I be? And, to me, it's very important, right? This was very critical for me, and I can kind of go back to, I've had multiple stints in rehab, right? And I can remember going back to the first time. Now, the first time I went to rehab, I'll be honest with you, I didn't go for myself. I literally went to try and save my marriage, which it worked temporarily. But again, I didn't go for myself, so it didn't last. But regardless, when I went, I told my kids that I was going on a business trip. And, like my daughter was old enough. My son was not. But my daughter was probably old enough where I could have told her more than I did, but I didn't. I wasn't really honest. And back then I wasn't in the frame of mind. I wasn't the person that I am today by any means. So I wasn't very transparent. I wasn't very open. I wasn't very honest with not just them, but with anybody. Nobody outside of my work knew where I was. And I mean, the only reason they knew is because, well, I really wanted to keep my job. But so this is a big topic. A lot of people don't know how much they should say, or it's very taboo in a lot of people's circles. Like, I don't want my kids to know, it's embarrassing. I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict, or I have OCD, or I'm ADHD. I don't want my children to know this. But I mean, the way I am is fucking own it, right? Just own it. Like, the more you own it and the more you put it out there, the less it becomes an issue, the less it becomes anything that ever holds you back. And matter of fact, once you put it out there, it actually becomes a source of strength. And it's so freeing. It is absolutely freeing, and it becomes a source of your strength, and it actually becomes a source of others' strength. So I really would like to know, after you watch this or listen to this, depending on what format you're following me on, I really want to know what your thoughts are on this. Do you talk about this with your kids? Do you talk about this with your friends? Do you talk about this with your family, coworkers? Or are you one of those that are just so tight-lipped that you just don't talk about it? Is it due to your culture? Is it due to your family upbringing or your religion? Now, I will say, I've talked about this before. I am half Japanese. My mother's Japanese, obviously full-blooded. So, in the Asian culture, especially going back, my mother, is in her 90s. So she's very, very old school. You don't talk about stuff. There was no such thing as therapy. Therapy's weakness, or was. And my dad, he is from Mississippi originally through Tennessee, Southern Baptist. So again, you don't talk about anything. You keep your problems to yourself. You man up. You hold your chin up high. You walk through the flames. You walk through the fire. You just deal with it. But we all know that the longer you hold things in, the longer you keep them close to your chest, the more it just grows and grows, expands, and eventually it's just all going to come out. You're going to take it out on the wrong people, or something worse is going to happen. But you're going to end up an alcoholic, an addict, or worse. I mean, you're going to end up 6 feet under a hospital bed, high blood pressure. I mean, something's going to happen. You've got to have a means of release. So I really want to know what your thoughts are on talking about, whether it's addiction, alcoholism, which is addiction, mental health. I'm just really curious about what your thoughts are. But so this last time that really changed my life, when I hit my rock bottom, I had a serious talk. And again, I talked about this before. I had a serious talk with my children and said, look, I'm going to be gone for, hopefully 30 days. And this is why. Your dad has been a serious fuck up, and I don't want to be anymore, because you deserve the best dad possible. And even though I've been here, I've been in your life, you may not have seen anything, but you kind of have, really. I mean, I've had people in and out of the house constantly, but so you may think that your dad has been here, but at the end of the day, I have not been the dad that you deserve. And I've got problems. We all got problems, but dad has serious problems that he needs to work on. Your dad has what's called addiction issues, and it runs in the family. And if I don't get control over this, something bad's going to happen. And I want you to have your dad for as long as possible. So with that being said, I'm going to go away for 30 days. I'm going to work with therapists. I'm going to be in a place that's going to help me work on whatever it is, going back to my childhood, whatever it takes me to do to get better. This is exactly what I'm going to do to become the best dad possible. So they knew exactly what I was doing, where I was going, and they wrote me letters. I wrote them letters. We didn't have much communication outside of that. Just the facility that I was at, really, they cut you off. I mean, they took your cell phones. I mean, they really discourage any communication with the outside world, which is understandable. But ever since then, I've really, really been an open book with my children. And I've kind of had to because, with the way that I am, I mean, as you know, obviously with this platform, I have to be transparent. I have to be open. I have to be honest. And I want to be anyways, but to stay sober, to stay clean, and it goes hand in hand with the way that I am anyways naturally is because I love giving back. I love helping people and it keeps me sober. If I can give back to you in your time of need or before it becomes your time of need, it warms my heart. I'm not going to lie. It gives me a sense of satisfaction to know, shit, after everything that I've been through, I have tools now that I can give back to you that's going to help you. So maybe you don't follow the same road that I did. So I'm hoping that by me sharing this information with my children, obviously there's no way to know that they're not ever going to go down the road that I did. There's so much out there, I mean, now there's fentanyl, there's when I was growing up, there wasn't vape pens when I was 14 or 15. I mean, there wasn't, blunts laced with fentanyl when I was growing up. I mean, there was a lot of shit. There was a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of dangers now that maybe wasn't as prevalent when I was around. So that's even more reason why I feel like I need to be more transparent with my kids, because the fact of the matter is addiction does run in my family. I'm not the first person in my family that has had addiction issues. So that's even more reason why I want my children to know what your dad has been through and what your dad continues to go through, and want them to know that you trying cocaine one time, or you trying LSD one time, or you trying anything one time could be the one time that just locks you in to 20 years of addiction. I think the first time I did coke, I was probably maybe 17, 18 years old. And then the time that I finally stopped it, I was 46? So it's a long time. It's a long time after just experimenting. So I don't want my children to go down the path that I did. So again, I'm very transparent. Now, do you have to be as transparent as I am? No, but for most people haven't been an addict for 35 years. So you definitely don't have to do it on a level that I did. You don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want. I'm just giving you my perspective on what I'm doing. And Dr. Phil may say, Jason, you're doing it completely wrong. And you know what? Maybe I am, but I want my children to know the experiences that I've had, the experience that I've gone through, what it's resulted in, where I've ended up. So they know, and maybe it can prevent them or stop them from dealing with some of the hard times that I've had to go through. Or they will notice some pitfalls or some obstacles or some roadblocks, or if one of their friends is calling them sad or depressed, or they're self-isolating or self-harming. I've talked to my daughter about this last stint in rehab. There was a girl in there that I noticed when she walked in, she was wearing a sweatshirt, and this is in West Palm Beach, right? It's like 100 degrees. This is West Palm Beach, and she's wearing a hoodie, sweatshirt with her sleeves just rolled up, just below her elbows, right? And it's the first time I ever seen this, but there was like literally probably 100 lines on each arm. And at first I didn't know what it was, but then I thought about it. And then I realized she was a self-harmer. She cut herself. And one of the guys made some ridiculous remark, like, what'd you do to your arm? And, people were laughing, and I just thought it was the most disrespectful thing. And I said something to him, but he didn't know. He didn't know that she was a cutter. But, I've talked to my daughter about this. So I want her to know these things that otherwise she wouldn't know, because now that she knows this, if she sees a friend that walks into her room, or maybe somebody that's just an acquaintance that's in school, that she sees these cuts on her arm, she's going to know now that Sally, it's not really Sally, but maybe in trouble. She may be super depressed. This may be a cry for help. And my daughter is super freaking caring. Like, she puts other people above herself. She's very similar to me. So her knowing these things that I'm telling her is going to give her the tools in her tool belt to be able to help others that other kids may not know. So for those that tell me I'm saying too much, I'm telling my kids too much, I can give them a big old middle finger, because I've learned a lot through experience. I'm taking my experience and giving it back to my children, to my friends, to my family, to you. And you can take it where it's worth, do what you want to do with it. But I'm going to continue to be transparent. I'm going to continue to live my truth. I'm going to continue to give back. But what do you do? I mean, what do you say? What do you give back? Do you tell your kids anything? I know so many parents that go out on the weekends, get absolutely wrecked, hung over all weekend, isolate from their children, don't talk to their kids because they're hung over, don't talk to their kids about anything, and just have a horrible relationship with their children. And then, their children end up growing up. They have no relationship. They're very distant from each other. Their kids grow up, end up, doing this or doing that, either end up not talking to them, having, zero relationship whatsoever, or their kids end up being little hellions. And I don't want that. I want my kids to know they can talk to me about anything. I act like a little kid with my kids. Now, granted, I still feel like a little kid. And I think part of that is possibly from being an addict and living that lifestyle for so long. I still think I'm still in that mindset, unfortunately. But yes, I just think that, when you have these experiences, and it's not just my experiences, it's not just the experiences of an addict or somebody in recovery or somebody that's dealt with mental health. It's any type of experiences, right? So like whether you're a doctor or you're a lawyer, and I mean, you might want to be sharing your experiences with your children about that to give them some extra knowledge when they go off to college, or you want to, if you've done a lifetime of traveling, you want to share your experiences with your children. I mean, it's not the exact same thing, but what I'm saying is you want to be able to share this information to give them the knowledge. As they grow older, they can take what they want and do with it. That's what I'm saying. I'm always going to be open. Always going to be honest. I'm always going to be very transparent with my children. I know it's not like a recipe to be 100%. Like, I'm telling my kids this. Now I know they're going to be 100% perfect. They're never going to experiment. They're never going to try this. They're never going to get in trouble. I'm not an idiot. I mean, kids will try things. Kids will experiment. But if my kids ever do try things, if my kids ever do have a drink, if my kids ever do have a drug, I want them to know, okay, well, if it ever gets to that point, what did my dad do? Or who can I call? I know who I can call. I can call my daddy because my daddy's been through it. I can call my daddy because dad's not going to judge me. My dad doesn't judge anybody. My dad is wide open to everybody. My dad will give me the shirt off his back because he would give his shirt off his back to anybody. So, but I just thought it was really, really important to talk about this because it's really been on my mind, just because me and my children have a really, really tight relationship. My son's only 12. He's about to be 13, and he's like super into gaming. But my daughter, she's 15, going on 21. She's 15, but she's about to be 16 this year. So they're getting to that age, especially her, where you start seeing this time dwindle away, right? You're only going to have X amount of Christmases, X amount of birthdays, X amount of Easters, Thanksgivings, where you're really just going to be able to spend time with them before they're married, before they're off to college. I really take these times as precious moments that I bond with them. So me and my daughter, especially right now, are super, super, super close. Like, my kid's 50-50. It's just week on, week off. So like when I have them, like me and my daughter, we literally just spend like every moment together when she's at the house. So, and we just talk. We talk. And I don't want that to change. I'm really holding on to it as long as I can. But I talk to her about everything. Sometimes I'll probably tell her too much, but I live in my truth. Anybody wants to judge me for it, then that's on them. It ain't on me. But that's it. I really, really appreciate you for following along with this episode. I hope you got something good out of it. If nothing else, you got a perspective from somebody else, what they do with their children. But like I said before, I really, really am curious what you think. And it's not just with your children. It could be with it could be with anybody. You know, what do you feel comfortable with sharing? Do you feel comfortable with sharing anything? Because I do really, really think that, and I've talked about this before too, therapy, I'm a huge, huge proponent of therapy. And if you don't go to therapy, just talking out loud is so therapeutic. Being open, being honest, being transparent. You don't have to do a podcast. You don't have to put it out there on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. But talk, man. Get you a good circle of friends that love and support you. Just talk. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. Talk to your children. Your children will grow up to be so appreciative that you talk to them openly, and you're giving them a gift of a lifetime. But that's all for this episode. Can't wait to see you next time. Again, I'm so appreciative. I'm about to start wrapping up this first season. I'm going to take probably about 60 days before I come back with the second season. I need to reinvigorate, recharge, have a lot going on outside of this podcast. But season 2 is going to be phenomenal. That's where I'm really going to be bringing my high-powered guests. But just want to really get used to this first season of the podcast. But again, thank you so much for following. I love you all, and we shall talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Unshaken, the Hope Dealer podcast, where we turn trauma into truth and pain into power. If you've enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe and keep showing up for your healing. Until next time, stay brave, stay bold, and stay unshaken.